And Bob, how's that feel when you slump in your lower back? Great. Everybody tells me that. Floppy and hunched over. So go for a walk. Okay. And stay slumpy. And this is just the first step. Okay. But feel what's happened in your back, Bob. What's different?
It's more relaxed.
Yep. What's different in your horse?
I feel maybe closer.
Closer to your horse. Okay. Go to the old place. Okay. What did the horse do? Tensed and hollowed his back. And how's that feel, Bob? Harder. Okay. And slump again. But if you don't know something else, you can't pick it, right? If you don't know your keys are in your hand when you're looking for them, if you spend an hour, you don't know they're there. But once you know they're there, you have a choice. You can either use the keys and start the car, or still walk around the house looking for them. Usually you don't keep looking for them. So if Bob doesn't have a choice of how to sit on the horse, he's only going to do the one way he knows, even if it causes him pain, because he doesn't realize there's some other possibility. Okay? All right, so do it one more time. Go to the old place. Okay? And what did the horse do? Tensed. And what did he do about his breathing? Did anybody, if you thought about what the horse did with his breathing, what did he do? Kind of shallow, right? Kind of held his breath a little bit. And go to the new place. Go slumpy. Horse's head comes down. Stride lengthens. Even in this tiny little space. Did you see how the stride lengthens? Okay? And he looks more relaxed, doesn't he? So Bob, you can stop in that same place we were before. And I always say that the horse gets to vote. Okay? As long as there is no pain, and Bob, you have to tell me if anything I do hurts. I only have 2 rules and that's one of them. Okay? As long as there is no pain, the horse gets to vote even if you don't like it. Okay? So what happens is a lot of times, and I don't think that's going to be the case for Bob, but a lot of times people go, this feels weird, it feels wrong, it doesn't feel right, it feels unfamiliar, aren't I supposed to do blah, blah, blah. That's where the horse gets to vote. It's the best biofeedback unit we've got, okay? And if the horse goes better, then we're doing something that's better. Okay? Because that's the bottom line. Now, sitting correctly, or sitting in a pose, is not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for an effective position. It just happens to look nice. Okay, because good function looks good. All right, so you're going to let this lower back come back a little more. Good. So think of breathing into my hand right here. Yep. And now, Bob, this is going to be a little odd. You're going to fold a little bit over my front hand. Oh, that was leaning. So come back and fold. Yeah. And that feels really weird, doesn't it? Okay, great. Okay, because this part of Bob's back filled out a little bit more, where my hand is. Okay, unfold. And you see how this part gets a little more hollow, and you kind of pulse the rib cage back, and then fold. Yeah. And this part gets a little more filled out, and you're still really solid. Okay. So I'm going to show everybody what that is. And you can walk around here or play with that. I'll put this out of your way. Okay. What the heck is this fold thing? It's very small, first of all. And what I've asked Bob to do is to bring, and see Nigel needs this. Can you see how Nigel's rib cage is behind his pelvis? Okay? So he needs a little bit of fold, and what he needs to do is where my index finger is, he needs to bring his rib cage over his pelvis. Okay, so he's back, Bob is back here, and he needs to fold over where my finger is to bring his rib cage over his pelvis. Now we're not worrying about the upper part of the back yet. You have to start at the base, which is the pelvis, the closest thing to the horse, and then build upward and downward. Okay? So this little fold shifts the rib cage from being behind the pelvis to being over the pelvis. Even if, I'm okay with, even if this is curly and round right now. Okay? Because what we typically do when we sit up straight is, okay, now, all I've done is hinge back at the base of the rib cage. And that really didn't address the part that I was trying to get to sit up straight, which is the upper chest. But this is what most people do, is they hinge back and throw the whole rib cage behind the pelvis, and then hollow the back even more, and sit like that. Not very comfortable. Okay, so we've got pelvis under. Hey, do you remember what my lecture was yesterday? Pelvis under, long top line. We're working on long top line. Okay? All right. So, How's that feel?
His back come
You feel his back come up. Cool. Right? So for some mysterious reason, we have already influenced the horse's top line and brought his back up with Bob just thinking about himself. Okay, so the pelvis is here, the little tiny fold over my front here. Awesome. Now we have the rib cage essentially over the pelvis, and what we see is that Bob's upper back is a bit rounded. And this is what we're trying to resolve when we sit up straight. Problem is, that's not where we address it, and that's why we get in trouble. Okay, so Bob, here's your back, and here's your sternum. Okay? If you were to think of sliding your sternum a little upward. Yep, whoa. And slide it back down. And slide it a little up and back down. Now wait a sec. Hold over my front hand again. So Bob wanted to lean back with his rib cage when he slid his sternum up instead of moving. That's right. That's a great thing to do. Just put your hand on your sternum and feel how it can move. Okay? Yep. Put your hand on your sternum. Okay. Think of your sternum sliding up. Yeah. Up, and then slide it back down. And slide it up. And slide it back down. Feel it's changing something in this part of your back. Okay? And slide it up. And slide it back down. Now go to the old place. Okay? And feel you've brought the whole chest up from here as opposed to moving this part of the back. Okay. Shoulders under, that little bit of foot, just scoot forward. Yep. Good. This part comes back. And go sliding your sternum up. Now, that's lovely. That's really good. And you're still breathing. Okay, great. Think about that for a minute. In Bob's case, and I hate to say it, Bob, but an older gentleman that's been kind of here for a while, this isn't going to be miraculously perfect overnight, is it? Okay? Because Bob hasn't really, I don't think, thought about the fact that this part of his rib cage should move independently of other parts. Right? But basically we're saying, here's the sternum sliding down, and in your case the upper back rounds back. And as we think of this part staying solid and sliding the sternum up, it opens up these upper ribs. It lifts the chest, which is what sit up straight is really about. Sit up straight is really about the idea that from my back to my chest gets deeper as opposed to hinged back. So this distance gets deeper versus hinged back. Okay? So if we think about Bob in the beginning, and we put him on all fours, we would call him a hollow back horse with his pelvis stuck out behind him. Right? So now what we've done is we've brought his pelvis underneath him, and we've gotten the back to fill out, and now we're lengthening the underline. Okay? We're doing the same thing. So he's got his pelvis underneath him, and his back's filled out, and he's going to think of sliding the sternum upward. It's a little forward upward. And that is affecting all of these upper ribs and this upper thoracic vertebrae. Okay? How many cervical vertebrae do you have? Anybody know? Neck vertebrae. 7. How many thoracic, meaning you have a rib, vertebrae, do you have? 12. Somebody over there said it. But you know all these answers. You'll give me the answer to the next one, okay? Okay, great. How many lumbar vertebrae do we have? We have 5, okay? So, 7 cervical. How many does the horse have? 7. How many does a giraffe have? 7. There's only 2 mammals that have fewer, a sloth and a manatee. All mammals have 7 cervical vertebrae except for sloths and manatees. I'm not working on any of those lately. All right. We have 12 thoracic vertebrae, meaning has a rib. How many do horses have? Any guess? You don't know? Oh, okay. 18. They have 18, so they have more thoracic vertebrae and more ribs. And they have 6 lumbar, except some Arabs have 5. Okay? So, a lot of similarities, they just have a few more ribs. Okay, Bob, we're going to do this again. I've given him a little rest so his brain can process what we just told him. And we're going to say nice and solid here, awesome. Okay? And if you were to just think of sliding the sternum up, super. What happened to his head and neck? It came up. Okay? And if I push here, he's solid. And if I push here, he's solid. So who moves now? The horse. How much? A lot. A lot. Right? Go to the old place. Who moves now? Okay, he's not faking it. This is real. Okay, find a new place. I've never met Bob before in my life. Slide to turn him up. Yeah. And notice that because I took him back to the old place, this was even easier for him to find. So we need comparisons. Right? So go for a walk, Bob, with these ideas. We need comparisons. It's, you know, so many times in riding, you want to do it right. How many of you want to do it wrong when you get on your horse? Okay? We want to do it right, but the problem is we stop experimenting. Got to sit just perfect. I hold my hands here for my legs there. Notice I haven't tucked back here some legs at all yet. Okay. But you try to put yourself in this position instead of going, well, what happens if I do it a little different? I do not suggest that you experiment on your colt. Okay? But I do suggest that you experiment on your older, good, solid citizen. Right? And let him tell you what he thinks of these new ideas. Because the horses will let us know. But if we're too afraid to experiment, we're not going to breathe anything. Right? We're going to be, oh, I have to just do this just perfectly, and there's no such thing as perfect, and so then everybody gets stuck. So, Bob, how's that feel?
Pretty good.
Yeah, what's different?
The horse.
What's different in the horse?
A lot more relaxed. His head's not as high as it usually is. His back's a little more rounded and up.
Have I touched the horse? No, not technically. I put my hand on it, but, you know, I mean, I've done nothing to the horse and only to Bob, and yet Bob only reports to me changes in his horse. Isn't that interesting? Okay. So notice as Bob walks around now, because I bet you already kind of forgot what he looked like. Okay. Notice what he looks like now, and if you were to describe Bob, wouldn't you say right now that he looks more comfortable? And his back looks more full and more relaxed, and his head carriage looks easier, okay? And now, Bob, just for the audience's perspective, go to the old place, and what's different? And what did his horse do? Slowed down, brought his head up, followed his back, shortened his stride, okay, and let that go, Bob. And which one looked more uncomfortable for Bob? That other place. It's familiar. It's what he's done for I don't know how many years, right? For 12 hours at a clip. And yet already, Bob's going, wow, you know what? Do you want to go back there, Bob?
No.
Yeah. How long did that take for Bob to decide? Right? Why? Why did it take so little time for him to decide? Because it's more comfortable.